Athena Parthenos, the goddess stripped by a tyrant. It weighed over a ton. 44 talents of pure gold, hammered into sheets less than a millimeter thick, and nailed onto the body of a goddess. At the heart of the Parthenon, towering nearly 40 feet tall, stood the statue of Athena Parthenos, Athens' ultimate act of devotion and defiance, born of empire and wrapped in treasure. Crafted by the legendary sculptor Phidias in 438 BC, the statue was more than art. It was a bank vault in disguise. The gold was designed to be removable, an ancient failsafe, valuable enough to pay the salaries of over 10,000 workers for a year. In times of crisis, the gold could be unpeeled and melted down. Every 4 years, her gold was removed, weighed, and reattached under guard. Records etched in marble list each drachma accounted for. It was an ancient audit system, down to the gram. And then it vanished. No one knows for sure when or where the gold went. We know what it looked like. Her skin, gleaming ivory, wrapped around a wooden core of sacred cypress. Her eyes, inlaid with gems, captured the sun as it filtered through the great doorway. Her robes, her shield, her very presence shimmered with gold. Visitors entering the temple would find her looming above a basin of water that reflected her radiant figure, multiplying her, doubling her divinity. Phidias spared nothing in her creation. He placed a smaller statue of Nike in her outstretched hand, a gorgon's head on her chest, snakes coiling at her feet, and on her shield he dared to carve his own face next to Pericles, a political gamble that would cost him dearly. Accused of hubris in stealing gold from Athena herself, Phidias was arrested. He fled to Olympia, where he built his other masterpiece, the statue of Zeus, the only statue to rival Athena Parthenos. It too vanished centuries later. Athena stayed, but not untouched. In 296 BCE, the tyrant Lachares stripped her gold to pay mercenaries. He left Athena naked, one historian wrote. Coins minted around that time, heavy, gold, and rare, may carry the remains of the statue, atomized and recast. Some say the gold was never restored. Others argue a new statue took her place, rebuilt quietly after a fire gutted the Parthenon in the 2nd century BC. The evidence, 5 strange dowel holes beneath her pedestal, signs of a reconstruction, perhaps a replacement, maybe even a replica of a replica. And then, as Christianity swept the empire, the Parthenon changed. It became a church, and Athena was no longer welcome. By the 5th century CE, she was definitively gone. Some say she was carted off to Constantinople and perished in a fire. Others think she was simply dismantled, her ivory cracked, her wooden core rotted, her gold lost, or hidden. But if even a single gold plate survived, bearing the curve of her gown or the twist of a snake from her shield, it has yet to be found. Until then, Athena Parthenos remains what she always was, a mystery, gleaming, sacred, and just out of reach. This video is brought to you by NordVPN. Because if you're watching this online, someone else could be watching you. Stay hidden like I do with NordVPN. Grab an extra 4 free months at nordvpn.com/dark5. I switched to NordVPN on a recent trip so I could watch my usual shows from the hotel room. But what really hooked me were the security extras working quietly in the background. Dark Web Monitor keeps scanning hacker forums and pings me the moment my email shows up in a leak, even when I'm not connected to a VPN server. And after a friend got torched by a man-in-the-middle attack on public Wi-Fi, I flipped on Threat Protection Pro. It blocks phishing sites, fake shops, and sketchy downloads, while the VPN tunnel encrypts every packet in transit. Watch me do it. One tap in the app. I'm safe. So if you want to stream, scroll, or just survive the digital wilds, hit nordvpn.com/dark5. Link in the description and on screen now for an exclusive deal, plus 4 extra months free. It's totally risk-free with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. That's nordvpn.com/darkfive. Stay hidden, stay protected, and stay curious. Now, back to the video. The mysterious Aztec sun and moon discs. They called it a sun cut from the belly of the earth, a perfect round of gold, 6 feet wide, hammered so thin that light seemed to seep through its skin. Beside it shimmered a companion moon, an even larger disk of silver, cool and ghost pale. Together, they were cosmic tributes, crafted not to intimidate, but to awe. Tokens of diplomacy meant to impress strangers who had crossed the sea, and perhaps persuade them to turn back. On a humid dawn in May 1519, Hernan Cortés watched Montecuzuma's emissaries drag the discs across the sand at Veracruz. The Spaniards froze. Bernal Diaz, who marched beside Cortés, later called it the whole of the finest gold and of the most beautiful workmanship, a most extraordinary work of art. Each disc was more than a gift. It was a god in metal. The sun bore the face of Tonatiuh, the solar deity, his mouth agape to devour the day. The silver moon disk mirrored it, with swirling motifs of Coyolxauhqui, goddess of lunar light and mythic vengeance. Together, they represented the cosmic balance. Cortés seized the bounty, feathered headdresses, shimmering fabrics, and gold animals so finely made their wings and tongues could move. He packed the wonders for Spain, certain the spectacle would dazzle the eyes of the king himself. He was right. In the summer of 1520, Charles V unleashed a traveling exhibition, rolling the New World treasure from Toledo to Brussels. Crowds surged. Nobles elbowed for a glimpse. Albrecht Dürer, the Renaissance's master goldsmith, stared at the discs and trembled. "All the days of my life," he wrote, "nothing rejoiced my heart so much." Then, silence. The shining twins vanished from Europe's chronicles as abruptly as they had appeared. Why? Follow the smoke. By 1520, Spain was bleeding gold. Revolts flared across the empire. In Italy, Spanish troops clashed with France. In the east, Ottoman forces pressed in from the Mediterranean. Charles V ruled a realm so vast the sun never set on it, but he could barely afford to keep its lights on. Royal edicts followed. Melt everything. In the roaring furnaces of Seville or Segovia, workers tore gold from wooden frames, and the discs that once mirrored the heavens dripped into anonymous ingots, fuel for a war stamped with a Habsburg seal. Yet legends refused to die. While most believed the discs were melted in the royal mints, others wonder if everything Cortés seized ever made it that far. They point to La Noche Triste, June 30th, 1520, when Spanish forces fled Tenochtitlan under a storm of obsidian blades, drowning in chaos and gold. Eyewitnesses describe soldiers sinking into Lake Texcoco, dragged down by treasure they refused to abandon. In 1981, a 4-pound gold bar was unearthed beneath a Mexico City street. Chemical analysis matched it to the hoard Cortés had taken. Proof, perhaps, that some of the Emperor's share, known as the Royal Fifth, was lost before it ever left the continent. Could other fragments, even the discs themselves, still lie buried in the lakebed ruins of a vanished empire? Others believe pieces still hide in European vaults, miscatalogued as mundane bullion. 5 centuries later, the fate of the Aztec sun and moon remains a glittering cliffhanger. Zolotaya Baba, the Golden Woman of Siberia. They say the idol could scream. Not in words, but in a deep, bone-shaking cry like wind howling through a buried horn. Along the banks of the Ob River in Siberia, the sound was said to come from Zolotaya Baba, the Golden Old Woman, a mysterious gold statue of a seated crone cradling a child. By one estimate, she weighed 16 pounds. Sometimes she was said to carry another in her womb. Sometimes she predicted the future. But always she demanded tribute: furs, silver, or even a single hair from a hunter's coat. Refuse her, and your journey would end in disaster. She was worshipped by the peoples of the far north, the Khanty, the Mansi, the Komi, and the Abdorian Samoyeds, and all feared her. The Zolotaya Baba appears first in the saga of St. Olaf, where a Viking raider named Tore Hund led a crew into a shrine in the land they called Bjarmeland. Inside, they found a wooden goddess crowned in gold, her lap filled with silver coins. Beneath her altar, they uncovered a mound where metal glinted in the soil. The Vikings plundered what they could and fled, pursued, some said, by her vengeance. By the 1500s, she appears repeatedly in maps by famous Renaissance cartographers. One shows her as a spear-wielding goddess, another a Madonna. In 1517, a Polish scholar warned that no one dared pass her shrine empty-handed. In the 1580s, a Cossack named Bogdan Brajazga claimed to have found her, a golden figure seated with her son, receiving gifts and granting luck in the hunt. When Christian forces arrived, she vanished. Some said she was destroyed. Others said she was buried deep in the forest by her followers, who took their own lives to keep the secret. In 1906, an ethnographer chasing rumors upriver heard tales of a silver Baba hidden on the Konda. In 1981, a Mansi guide led a filmmaker to a ridge where the statue once stood and shook the trees with its scream. But the most tantalizing evidence came centuries later. In 2022, a Russian Geographical Society team followed clues left by an expedition 100 years earlier and used drones to scan the Ob Basin, where they discovered a strange granite figure on Mount Polodernaya. It stood among quartz veins and blue clay, both signs of unmined gold. Their theory, the statue was called golden, not because it was made of metal, but because it sat atop ancient gold mines. The idol, they believe, still stands, not buried, just overlooked, hidden in plain sight. So maybe the Golden Woman isn't gone. Maybe she's still waiting, half forgotten in the Siberian wilds, her mouth open to the wind. And if you ever hear her cry, you'd better offer something. The golden horns with a coded message. In 1802, under the cover of night, a desperate goldsmith named Niels Heidenreich crept into the Royal Chamber of Art in Copenhagen. By morning, Denmark's greatest treasure was gone. 2 ancient golden horns, decorated with strange runes and cryptic figures, were stolen, melted down, and lost forever. But the mystery didn't die with the gold. The golden horns of Galahus were forged around 400 AD, during the twilight of the Roman Empire. Crafted from layered sheets of pure gold and silver alloy, their faces were covered in rings of symbolic images: horned warriors, serpents, centaurs, a 3-headed god wielding an axe, and on one horn, an ancient message. I, Hlegavashtias Holtias, made the horn. It's the oldest full sentence ever written in Elder Futhark, the original runic alphabet of the Germanic tribes. But that's not the only hidden code. Across 2 rows near the horn's mouth, scholars believe the figures conceal a cipher, 22 characters that might translate to, "May I, the potion of this horn, bring help to the clan." One theory even links the images to 2 eclipses in 412 and 413 AD, suggesting the horns were astronomical devices, ritual tools for marking cosmic events. If that theory is true, the only way to know for sure might lie on the ocean floor. In the late 1700s, a perfect set of plaster casts was made for Cardinal Borgia in Rome. But as the ship sailed past Corsica, it sank. The casts, possibly the only accurate 3D record of the horns before their destruction, now rest in a Mediterranean grave. Today, all that survives of the original gold is 10 grams. A pair of earrings, made from melted fragments, slipped through the royal investigation and ended up in the hands of the thief's descendants. One was donated to a museum on the island of Funen. It's all that remains of a treasure that once weighed over 7 kilograms. Replicas made from drawings exist, some in museums, one clutched by Leif Erikson in a Milwaukee park. But the truth of the golden horns may still be hidden in the runes, or somewhere beneath the waves. Punchao, a stolen sun in secret tunnels. They called it the Punchao, a man-sized disc of living gold that blazed inside the Inca's holiest shrine, the Coricancha. 5 centuries later, the disc is missing, its golden garden is gone, and every trail to its fate is stained with betrayal, greed, and death. The Coricancha, or Golden Courtyard, anchored the empire like a cosmic compass. Chroniclers said its walls were skinned with gold sheets, and in the courtyard sprouted life-size cornstalks, llamas, even shepherds, all hammered from precious metal. At dawn, the Punchao caught the first rays of Inti, the sun god, and bounced sunlight across the garden. So the statues seemed to breathe. But in 1533, Francisco Pizarro's army stormed Cusco. The conquistadors stripped the walls for Atahualpa's ransom and melted most of the garden into bullion. Yet not everything reached the smelter. Early Spanish reports hint that priests funneled treasures into a secret tunnel network, the Chincanas, running from Coricancha to the hilltop fortress of Sacsayhuaman. Modern ground-penetrating radar has since confirmed the existence of secret passages beneath the city. More than a mile long, they're still sealed by stone plugs. A popular Cusco legend tells of a student who emerged from the tunnels beneath the city in the 1700s, clutching one such ear, which friars allegedly melted down for a church crown. During the 1814 rebellion, rebel leader Mateo Pumakawa was said to have shown secret underground treasure to an officer, but no records suggest anything was removed. But what became of the Punchao? Later legends, modern ones, claim the idol has been carried through jungle trails to the fabled city of Paititi. Treasure hunters spoke of a golden hoard hidden deep in the Andes, of life-size figurines and vases full of emeralds. One explorer claimed to see it, then vanished overboard before he could return. Even more bizarre is the recorded tale of Spanish conquistador Mancio Sierra de Leguizamo, who said he won the Punchao in a game of cards, then lost it just as easily. No evidence, no idol, only rumors. Archaeological finds support fragments of the story: golden maize cobs matching colonial accounts, and ritual figurines buried on mountain summits. But the Punchao itself, said to hold the ashes of Incan kings, remains lost, or buried, or stolen. Today, a handful of silver llama miniatures are all that hint at the garden's sunrise glory. Beneath the Catholic convent, now built atop Coricancha, tourists tread where the golden garden once shimmered. And somewhere below, sealed behind a stone plug, a sun made of gold may still be waiting. The Inca believed that gold was the tears of the sun. If the Punchao ever re-emerges, will it bring light, or something far more powerful? All of these artifacts vanished, leaving behind more legends than facts. Which object do you believe is the most likely to still exist in some hidden form? Let me know in the comments. As always, thank you for watching Dark 5. Like and subscribe to continue exploring the greatest mysteries of this world and beyond.